The Nintendo Switch 2 is the most complicated console purchase I've ever had, the most complicated online purchase I've ever made, the most complicated pre-order I've ever had, pretty much the most complicated everything. I have a very interesting story of how I got my Switch 2 after my pre-order canceled, and it's not necessarily where you may think I got it from. So stick around through the whole video to hear that story. But basically what this video is it's launch day of the Switch 2, and I just want to give you my thoughts, and I have very mixed thoughts about the Switch 2. There's goods, there's bads, and there's uglies. And I'm going to show you all of them. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I bought this with my own money that I worked for. And in fact, I actually had to buy this twice. And that's what actually really motivated me to get this video out, because I had to pretty much buy one console 2 times and I only got one. So luckily I have it set up to where I could do that, but not a lot of people could necessarily do that. So I really do feel blessed in that regard, but either way, this has been very annoying, but also somewhat satisfying. So without any further ado, let's break down what's up with the Switch 2. So one of the very first things I want to talk about is as soon as I pulled out the Switch 2 and put it all together, put the Joy-Cons in place, snapped them in place, that's when I knew that this was definitely a better built console. The Switch 1, when we compare them side by side, really does look and feel like a toy in comparison, where this feels like an actual, like, high-powered electronic. I'm not saying performance-wise it is. We still have a lot to see in that regard, but it feels like a high-quality electronic, and that's what I actually love to see out of the product. But this is not a Nintendo Switch 2 glaze. That is one of the positives I have to say, is it by far feels like an immediate upgrade from the Switch 1, and I gotta commend Nintendo for that, regardless of the other things that I have to say about them. One of the other things that I will actually commend them on as well is onboarding is very simple, but I have to make that day one patch is kind of annoying. We will get into digital downloads later in the video. I do have some things that I want to discuss in that regard that actually affected me. Some of it's my fault and some of it's in Nintendo's fault, and I do want to discuss that. But I do think setting up the console itself is very quick, and that's about where my praises for the console come. I haven't tried I haven't fully done everything on the console. I'm talking about my very first impressions. I'll give you further details with the console as I've had it longer, but first few hours of day one, I would have to say it feels very good to hold. I'm 6'4", I have big hands. This feels really great in my hands. I have man hands, so this feels good if you have man hands, and if you have smaller hands, I mean, this will feel great still. I mean, this is built better, designed better than the Switch 1, and of course the Joy-Cons, one thing I want to say, feel tremendously better than the Switch 1 Joy-Cons, so I want to say that. Also, the triggers feel better. Now when it comes to games I've played on here, I've only played Mario Kart World, and when it comes to my first impressions, I'm only talking about what came in the box here. I'm not talking about any games I can get later. I'm not talking about any accessories, no third-party hardware, nothing like that. We're talking about what you get in the box, and is that worth it? That's $500 for the Mario Kart bundle, plus tax. And I will have to say, playing Mario Kart World, it is definitely not an $80 game. It is not worth $80, and I can't say I can really recommend somebody who isn't a hardcore Nintendo or Mario Kart fan to go get this. I'm not a hardcore Nintendo or Mario Kart fan, but the reason why I did get the console to begin with is because me and my wife, The very first games we ever completed were Mario games, and Nintendo games in general were the first games that we ever completed together. And it was just a really special experience to finally get my wife to play some video games, so I could actually play games, and I get to and spend time with my wife, and then she gets to spend time with me and learn how to play games. It's a really good experience, and I haven't really been able to duplicate that experience besides maybe in Stardew Valley for my wife. Outside of Nintendo games and Stardew Valley, it has been very hard to get her to be excited about playing games. And I think Mario Kart is, she's going to be very excited when she gets home to play Mario Kart with together. But I will say, again, if you're not a huge Mario Kart fan, you're not a huge Nintendo fan, why would you get this console? Why would you run out and get this? I will say for the console itself, the $450 for the console itself, it is $250, or sorry, $150 more than what the Switch 1 was asking at retail, base console. And I will have to say that, the console itself feels higher quality. It looks, the screen is better, the speakers are way better, the Joy-Cons are better, everything feels better with the console itself. But that elephant in the room with that $80 Mario Kart, I've played a couple hours of it. I still have a lot more to go, but there's absolutely no way that this game is worth $80. I cannot in good faith recommend Mario Kart World for $80. Can I recommend that you get the Mario Kart World bundle? You save $30 by getting the bundle, but do you really save money? Do you really save money? Because you have to spend $500 to save $30. Sure, you may argue, I'm going to get the console anyway, I might get that. But it's still, to save $30, you have to spend $500. So, economically and mathematically, you are the one, you're the one losing in this bargain. I'm the one that lost in this bargain. Right, I mean, just to be honest with you guys, I mean, $50, $80. Mario Kart World maybe was, I would say $60 base price was definitely a good place for it. $80, absolutely not, guys. I don't care if you're the biggest Mario fan, biggest Nintendo fan. You can defend this if you wanted to, but it does not make you look good defending a billion-dollar corporation asking you for more money. And yeah, they are giving you more in a sense, but when was the last time they came out with a brand new Mario Kart game? So I honestly feel like they probably should have a little bit more meat on the bones here, especially this jump. I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's definitely not a bad game. I'm not even saying that it's a mid game. I think it's a good game from what I've played, but is it $80 good? Is it spend $500 to save $30 good? No, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I spent my money on this. You can call me a Nintendo cuck. You can call me a fool, whatever. But again, I got the game. I got it so I could play with my wife, and I also got it so I could play my old Switch games on the Switch 2. Now this gets into a more interesting conversation that I have. So when I was onboarding with the Switch. With the Switch 2, it was asking me to transfer from the Switch 1 to the Switch 2. Now, let me preface this by saying that this is a lot my fault, so I do not blame Nintendo for a lot of this, but there is something I do have to address when it comes to what Nintendo could do better. So, with my Switch 1, my Nintendo Online account was created with an email address that I no longer have access to. It was basically, I had AT&T back in 2017 through 2019 or something like that. I got my Switch 1 in 2018, and then that's when I went ahead and I created my Nintendo Online account using my AT&T email. Well, I switched carriers, not thinking anything of it, and about a year after I switched from AT&T to a different carrier, I completely lost access to my email. So let this be a lesson for you guys. Learn from my mistake. Number one lesson here: never make a ISP, mobile phone provider, Any company that you have to pay for a service based off the location or the convenience at that time, like a utility, never make that like your main email. Like never do like a Verizon, AT&T, CenturyLink, Comcast, whatever. Never make those your main email. That is the number one takeaway from here, because then you avoid dealing with this. If you no longer have their service. And for a lot of us, there's a chance that you will not have their service for the rest of your life. So I don't recommend using an ISP or, utility providers' email services. So let that be the first lesson. Nintendo's sending a verification code for me to log in to my Nintendo Online account. And since I don't have access to that email, I can't verify. I have purchases I made online. This goes into a couple issues that a lot of people have brought up online that I didn't think was I was like, whatever, people making a big deal of it. And then it's actually affecting me pretty big, honestly. So it's affected my initial experience with the Switch 2. And I don't say that a lot of this is Nintendo's fault. I take full responsibility for having the ISP email and then not having access to it. I should have definitely switched all my things after not having AT&T anymore. But I was young and dumb. That was nearly 10 years ago when this happened. So a lot has changed and I've learned my lesson. But this was another reminder of that lesson. This wasn't the first time I've been reminded of that. But basically, I wasn't able to access my account or whatever, and I'm trying to contact Nintendo and get that sorted out. I'll give you guys updates on what's going on in that situation. But essentially, I had to create a brand new Nintendo Online account if I want to download Mario Kart World, because it was a download code. It wasn't a physical cartridge. So again, this brings us into multiple issues here. First issue, Nintendo needs to have a easier way of contacting their customer support. But most of the fault is on me on the situation to begin with. But I'm not defending Nintendo here either. Don't get me wrong. Secondly, though, digital purchases. What happens if you don't have access to your account anymore? What happens if you don't have access to the email that you created your account with? What happens if you have no way to verify that you were the owner of that account? Do you own any of the digital licenses that you purchased? No, you don't even own the licenses now, because now I can only play those games that I purchased on the Switch 1 on my Switch 1, and I can't experience any of those upgrades on the Switch 2. Again, I'll say it one more time. A lot of it could have been avoided by myself by being more proactive about the email, but I also didn't really expect to have such a big hassle for years to come by not having the AT&T email anymore. And I've dealt with this not just from Nintendo, but from other companies as well. But then it really brings up not just digital ownership, but the fact that a lot of Nintendo Switch 2 cartridges are the game key card, or you still have to download the game. If I still have to download the game, I would much rather have that always offline or online license that works all the time, like you get with a lot of the Switch 1 games, which is now going to get me on a mission to collect a lot more Switch 1 cartridges for the Switch 2, just so I have more physical access to those, and just kind of get more physical access in general, because now I've been burned by buying mostly digital games. Luckily, I do have some of my library physical, but this is a major learning point of why not to have everything digital. But then lastly, let me get into why this was just the most mixed mid experience I've ever had. This is the first time in my life that I ever bought a console day one. I went to the midnight launch, all that stuff. I pre-ordered it, all of that stuff. But my pre-order canceled on me. I pre-ordered it through Walmart. Luckily, first of all, we all know how hard it was to even try to get a pre-order the night of the pre-orders. But then when I got one through Walmart, I was so happy. Then the final week leading up to launch day, today, the day I'm recording this video, June 5th, 2025, you started hearing a lot of rumors of people getting their Walmart pre-orders canceled. Well, I was like, well, it didn't happen to me. I'm fine. Well, 2 days before launch day, I get an email from Walmart saying I need to update my payment information. I go into the app, It's glitched. It won't even let me update the payment information. But also keep in mind that Walmart took $543 from me 6 weeks before this even happened. But then they're telling me that I need to update my payment information. It sounds like they need to update their payment information if my money is missing out of my account for this purchase. But then I'm contacting customer service. They're telling me to disregard this issue. And it turns out that I probably shouldn't have disregarded this issue. I should have been more on top of it because my order ends up getting canceled the following morning with nothing that they can do. And at this point, I am livid because I want to get this. I wanted to record a video about this, but I didn't think that I was going to record this kind of video. I thought I was going to be a little bit more excited, but the thumbnail is not clickbait. This has been the most mid experience because the highs are decently high, but the lows of this experience have been rock bottom. So contacting Walmart customer service was a complete nightmare online. Conflicting information. They didn't have anything straight. And you know, I hate to be that guy. I live in the United States, but these people were from India. I have no issues with where anybody are from, but I am fatigued with people who don't necessarily understand everything I'm saying, and then I don't unnecessarily understand everything that they're saying either. That is either through online chat or when I eventually had to call them. When one supervisor was completely unhelpful, he guided me to this this AI loop, but then I eventually figured out how to contact somebody. It was just a nightmare. I was on the phone for an hour talking from entry-level employee to supervisor. The supervisor is telling me they're the only supervisor available in this billion-dollar corporation. And then I had to tell this lady, look, you're telling me in all of this billion-dollar corporation, you're the only supervisor I can talk to. I can't talk. There's nobody else available. You are right below the CEO. You're the only one that I can talk to. And after I finally broke that down to her, she finally moved me up to her manager. And then her manager said, I'm gonna get an email at midnight to lock in my order. It'll be exclusive for anybody who got their orders canceled. Which was complete BS. I never got any of that shit. I didn't get any shit from Walmart about that. And she said it was gonna be an exclusive queue. Whatever. I kind of felt Walmart was fucking bogus. I was like, fuck Walmart. I told them I'm canceling all day shit. But I had to wait for a second because I was just like, wait, let's see where I'm gonna get this fucking Switch, because I need to get this Switch. Not because I'm fiending for this, but I wanted to make a video on this. This was going to be my very first upload to this channel. It still is, but this is a much different video than I thought it was going to be. So when I finally decide that I'm going to go ahead and get this motherfucker, midnight launch, I might wait in line. We'll see what goes on. I drive out. I go to Best Buy. This is like 20 minutes. It's like midnight. I'm in West Coast, so midnight launch started at 9 p.m. our time. And I'm driving. I drive past Best Buy, and there's like a line. There's probably, I'm not exaggerating, there's probably like 500 people to 500 to 1,000 people waiting there. I was like, hell no, I am not going there. It was insanity. I was not waiting in that line. But then I'm like, okay, let's go see where GameStop's at, and I'm there like 20 minutes before launch. And there's probably like 100 people there. And I was like, crap, should I sit here? I got in line for a second. I waited. And then I was like, you know what? Screw this. I feel like there's too many damn people here. I don't want to wait. I don't want to risk not getting this and wasting my time. So I was just like, screw it. I'm just going to, I guess I was going to cancel everything from fucking Walmart. I was going to cancel all their bullshit. I go to Walmart. There's like 10 people. I shit you not. There's 10 people there. And I go into the back, and there's like maybe 2 people there for a pre-order pickup. Everybody else was there to just buy it right then and there. No pre-order at all. And they had a bunch of them with the Mario Kart World bundle or not. And I was just like, oh crap, is this too good to be true, or are these all pre-orders? And then I get there, and then, you know, I'm gonna make a slight joke here, but there was a mentally handicapped guy at the very front of the line. He was super excited to get it, and bless his heart, he was excited as could be. And what I was thinking that I thought was hilarious. I was just like, here are all these other people, the 1,000 people at fucking Best Buy thinking that they're big brain, fucking all these people at GameStop thinking that they're like, oh, we pre-ordered this, we're ahead of the game. And then we have the mentally handicapped guy in the very front of the Walmart line in front of 9 other people who gets his pre-order, walks out, and is done in less than 5 minutes. And it's just like, and that made me think, it's like, who's the real geniuses around here? Who's the real smart people? So, no disrespect to that guy, God bless him, of course. But I just think it's hilarious, just the irony of the whole situation. It's like, all these people are willing to wait behind hundreds of others, but then there's like 10 people at Walmart. So long story short, I got my Switch 2 Mario Kart bundle in Walmart. I was in line for 5 minutes, gave them my money, and was out. And I'm still waiting on my refund from the online pre-order, but I'm gonna get all that back. But essentially, that's my story of how I had to buy the Switch 2 twice, and I got one. So, yeah, pre-orders were a nightmare. This was the most mid experience I thought I was ever going to have. I will say that the console itself is pretty cool. I don't have a PC portable to compare it to. I do have the Switch 1 to compare it to. You guys seen that in the B-roll in the back. But I will say that this is definitely a better built console than the Switch 1. We are piggybacking a lot off of the Switch 1's library at the launch. The price has gone up, and it will go up because of tariffs. Nintendo's confirmed this. So I will say that anybody who got it day one, price-wise, I would say price-wise, what you got, value-wise, rating, I would have to give it a 7 out of 10. It could have been a better price. There could have been more valuable things in there. You get all the cables you need, but there's nothing special in here. There's like nothing hidden. It's not like it used to be where like, oh, you felt like you might find like a little, commemorative item or something just that made it a little bit more special for the package. It just feels like, your typical 2025 electronic package. You're getting exactly what's advertised and nothing else, which is fine. But it just shows you that these companies are not going to go above and beyond for us anymore. How would I rate my personal value of the Switch 2? How I'm going to make use of it? Given the digital, I'm going to have to buy some games if I'm not able to, I might have to rebuy games if I want to experience them on Switch 2, if I'm not able to recover my account. That's my fault in a sense, but it's also part of Nintendo by not having another way of recovering. So I got to give that a 6 out of 10, honestly. And that's factoring in my own errors. But again, having to rebuy everything when they've already confirmed that they're raising the price. Then when I go to Switch Online to log in to see the prices and everything through the eShop, everything's full price. Pretty much everything's full price. That's a Nintendo first party product, even if it came out 10 years ago. So I'm really not a fan of that. I have to be honest with you guys. It's a 6 out of 10 value-wise when it comes to digital games, physical games. I mean, it's going to be expensive. This is not a cheap console. It's going to be very hard to recommend this if you're gaming on a budget. And lastly, guys, should you go out and buy this console if you're on the fence? Honestly, if you're on the fence in the sense that, if it's worth it, like games-wise, I mean, there's no games right now except for Switch 1 games. If you already have a Switch 1, you're playing the best games on Switch 2. Just to be honest with you, I mean, Mario Kart World is an improvement over Mario Kart 8, but I don't know if I can say it's a better game. It's made improvements, like I said, but I don't know if it's a better game. So there's a lot left to be unveiled there. But for most of you guys, I do not recommend you go get this console unless you really have a backlog of Nintendo products. But then you probably already have this. You probably found a way to get it. And if you did want to go get this, I will say the easiest way, just go to Walmart. Everybody thinks Best Buy and GameStop go to Walmart. Just go in day one. I think that's the cheat code. Just go in store physically day one and just buy it. You don't even need a pre-order. Don't hassle yourself with pre-orders. I was a fool by pre-ordering this. I'll never pre-order any video game product ever again, because this was a horrendous experience. It was horrendous because of Nintendo. It was horrendous because of Best Buy, Walmart, Target, all of the major retailers. You would think that these billion-dollar corporations would have it down on how to properly release something, but you know, there's a lot of room for improvement. So that is my first impressions. I have to say it's very middling. I do think it is an improvement over the Switch 1, but we have a long way to go to see if it is the overall better console. Backwards compatibility is a plus, but you had to get the day one patch, you know? It's like everything I say about the Switch 2, I have to say one or two other things that take away from it. And that's what really holds this back. It's not a bad console at all, but it's not a great purchase. It's not the most, I don't feel like I got my money's worth right now. I do feel like it is a solid built electronic. I do think that it is an improvement build wise over the Switch 1. There's a lot of hours I'm going to get out of this game, and it does feel so satisfying to snap the Joy-Cons into place. But again, there's a lot more that they have to prove video game wise for this console to be in the GOAT status and to beat out the Switch 1 in overall. But my first impressions right now are right in the middle. I can't give it a great rating. It's a 7 in some areas, it's a 6 in others. It's not anything lower than a 5, I would say, depending on who you are. I don't think in good conscience you could give this less than a 5, but I don't think in good conscience you could give this more than a 7. So if you're glazing Nintendo, a billion-dollar corporation, you need to get your priorities straight, because they do not care about you, and they don't care about you. So if you like my takes on the Switch 2 launch, like the video and let me know your thoughts in the comments below on what you think about the Switch 2 and its launch offerings and everything that Nintendo has been offering us the past couple weeks, months, and so forth. So if you want to see more content like this, you want to see my Xbox Showcase breakdown here in a few days when that's happening, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And I have a lot more base takes over the gaming industry that you should pay attention to. So stay tuned for the next videos. Bye, guys.